Hey guys, Jesse here from Tower Games. Today we're going to teach you how to play Towers and Turrets. If you like this video, you want to get other videos like this where we review games, where we demonstrate how to play them, where we show you other cool things that are going on in the gaming community, good games for your family, please subscribe below, like us on Facebook, follow us on social media. We love that. Thank you so much. The first step of game setup is to remove the scorecards from the deck. Give each player one scorecard. Then, if you are playing with more than 3 people, you will need to remove one of the trash hand cards from the deck. Otherwise, you can leave it in. After you've removed the necessary cards, shuffle thoroughly. Then, deal each player 7 cards. You will then place the remaining cards in the center of the table. These will constitute the draw pile. As the game progresses, a discard pile will form. When the draw pile is depleted completely and there's more need, simply shuffle the discard pile and use it as a new draw pile. You win the game by being the first person to get 100 points by completing towers. There are 2 types of towers that can be laid. You have dirty towers, which are basically a tower made up of 2 or more types of blocks. So this one, for example, is wood and ice, right? It could have other types of blocks in it as well. And then there are pure towers, which are made up of all the same building material or the same type of block. Now, the catch is, the taller the tower, the more points it's worth, but pure towers are exponentially worth more points. Once you get them going to the point that if you actually build one of 10, which is every one of that type of block in the deck, you will win the game if you can finish that tower. But other people know that, so they're going to try and keep you from doing it. There are 2 types of towers that can be laid. You have dirty towers, which are basically a tower made up of 2 or more types of blocks. So this one, for example, is wood and ice, right? It could have other types of blocks in it as well. And then there are pure towers, which are made up of all the same building material or the same type of block. Now, the catch is, the taller the tower, the more points it's worth, but pure towers are exponentially worth more points. Once you get them going to the point that if you actually build one of 10, which is every one of that type of block in the deck, you will win the game if you can finish that tower. But other people know that, so they're going to try and keep you from doing it. For example, say I had the following hand. I could, in one turn if I wanted, lay every one of these cards. I could choose to form one tower or multiple towers. For example, I could build 1 pure tower and 1 dirty tower, or I could start building 1 dirty tower and 1 pure tower. Or I could choose to lay down my cards in such a way that I begin 3 pure towers. Or if I wanted, I could put them all together and just lay 1 tall dirty tower. When laying cards, and as stated, you can lay up to all of your cards from hand if you're able to and if you want to during your turn. But when building a tower, you are always building from bottom up. You can never insert cards in the middle of a tower or rearrange your tower or switch it out with other towers unless you have an action card that allows that. So once you lay them, they're there until an action card or until you cash the tower in. Another important thing is you can have up to 3 towers being built simultaneously, and no tower can exceed 10 blocks. So 10 blocks, once you get to it, is the max. In order to score points, you have to complete your tower. You can only complete a tower, which we call cashing in or cashing out. You can only cash in or cash out a tower by completing it with the top, which is not a block card, it is a turret card. It does not increase the number of blocks, because again, it's not a block card. I would place that on top of the tower. At that point, immediately the tower is scored, put in the discard pile, and I'm given my points for that tower. Whenever I am done playing cards, or can no longer play cards, I end my turn by drawing back up to 7 cards. Lastly, this game isn't just about building towers, it's about destroying towers and protecting yours against the destruction of others. So, essentially, you're trying to defend your tower, you're trying to attack other people's towers, you're trying to be the first to 100 points, right? So there are a number of cards outside of just block cards. They are called action cards, and they are attack cards, they are defense cards, they are fortune cards, natural disaster cards, and we're going to walk through each one briefly. However, for more details on how 2 cards interact with each other, we advise that you read both cards, the explanations in the rules. You can also look at frequently asked questions, and that will help out because we're just going to do a brief review. So there are fortune cards. Fortune cards will have a purple rim around them, and there are namely two. There are vultures and draw two. The draw two is pretty simple. On your turn, you can lay this card down, you immediately draw two more cards, and you're able to use those cards in your turn, right? The other one is the vulture. The vulture you would lay down and then you would draw through or go through the discard pile and pick two blocks of your choice to put back in your hand. You can then immediately play those blocks if you want. Note, you cannot go through the discard pile first to see if the blocks are in there that you want. You lay it, and hopefully you've been visual and you've you've paid attention and you've seen what blocks are going into there. Neither of the fortune cards can be defended or stopped by a knight. We then have natural disaster cards. These have a yellow rim around them. There are two natural disaster cards, the tornado and the earthquake. We'll go through the earthquake first. The earthquake, when laid, will impact everyone, and so will the tornado. Natural disaster cards impact everyone, okay? So the earthquake will remove the top block off every single tower, including the towers of the person who laid the card. It cannot be defended against. None of the natural disaster cards can be defended against by a knight, so it can be used to cause a lot of destruction across the board. Then there is the tornado. The tornado causes each player to have to immediately give two cards from their hand of their choice, so they get to choose which cards, to the player to their left, okay? Now, so I would put the two cards here, and then the other player cannot pull these cards up. No one can look at the two they're receiving until they have given the two from their hand, right? Here's the important thing. If I don't have two cards to give, I don't have to give two cards, and it's the loss of the person that should have got the cards, right? So if I only have one, I only have to give the one. If I have none, I don't give any. So that's an important note. Then there are knights. A knight is a defense card. It has a green rim around it. It cannot be defended by a knight. It's a knight. It only defends against attack cards. So you would essentially, when someone tries to attack you, you would lay this card down. They obviously already played their card, so they lose that, and then you discard this card because you're playing it, right? So you're not discarding, you're playing it. And it blocks their attack. So it's a pretty helpful card. A couple important things to note about it. It can be played out of turn. It's the only card that can be. So I can play this even though it's not my turn because somebody is attacking me. Then there are attacks. So these have a red rim around them, right? There are 4 attack cards, and we're going to walk through each of these briefly. There's the Thief. This card allows me to steal from someone's hand at random or from their tower or an embellishment off of their tower. So it's a very handy card. It can be defended like all of the attack cards with a knight. Then there is the Halt Production. A Halt Production I would lay on someone's tower. The Halt Production does exactly that. No embellishments, no blocks, no turrets. Nothing can be added to or taken away from this tower. So if I have one of these laid, a thief cannot steal from this tower. It is frozen in time, with the exception of a tornado, or the exception of an earthquake. An earthquake would still cause one block to be removed. If enough earthquakes happened that eventually the whole tower was gone, when the last card was earthquaked out and lost, this would also go to the discard pile because the tower is gone, right? Important to note, you can lay Halt Productions on your own towers. Sometimes that is beneficial. Then there is the Block Swap. The Block Swap allows me to switch a block from anywhere on any tower with another block from anywhere on any other tower. So I could take the bottom block of one of my towers and switch it with the top block or middle block of another person's tower. They have to switch to the same places that they came from, right? So if I take the top one and I put it over on this tower, but I took the bottom one from this tower, it would go to the bottom and this one would go back to the top, right? I think that's pretty self-explanatory. It's a switch. Important to note, it can be defended like all the attack cards with a knight. If I am trying to block swap 2 other people's towers, only one of them has to produce a knight to stop me, okay? So that's a cool card. It's pretty powerful. It helps to make pure towers and also to destroy pure towers by, inserting a different block and creating a dirty tower. Then, lastly, there is the trash hand. This is a very powerful attack. When I lay the trash hand, all players have to trash their hands, including me. Whatever I have left of my hand, right? So everyone puts their hands in the discard, and starting with the person that played it, draws back up to 7, and then each person draws back up to 7. And also, when I lay it and I draw back up to 7, my turn does not end. I get to keep playing, okay? And so that's why it's so powerful. It gives me a lot more cards to play with. I get to keep playing. it can be defended against. However, this one's a little bit unique. If somebody lays a knight, it only defends them from my attack. So everyone could lay a knight, and I still get to trash my 7 or whatever's left of them, and I still get to draw 7 and keep playing, okay? Knights cannot defend other people. They can only defend you.